In this channel, I always focus on games or game mechanics or basically anything to do with video games because I like video games. And although I could talk about video games all day, every day, there's one thing that I always overlook, which is the developers and the studios behind these games. You see, a developer or studio are the ones making the games. For better or for worse, this is their product. So I decided to make a series where I look at like the most overlooked or underground developers, not some Ubisoft or EA shit. So why not start with Playdead? Playdead is a game studio that I'm extremely interested in, if you can't tell. Playdead has made 2 pretty big games and are currently working on their 3rd game, but we don't really know much about that. Their 2 main games, Limbo and Inside, might ring a bell in your head. These games were successful. They both sold over 1 million copies, with Limbo reaching over 6 million, I believe. So it's not a lie that they're pretty popular, but they don't really get recognized as much as, in the current day. No one's really talking about Playdead or their new games since they're pretty hush about it, and since they're not really AAA games releasing games every semi-year, But that's looking to the future and looking in the present. Right now, step back and look in the past. Enter 2004 Arndt Jimson, a former IO interactive developer. He one day was drawing some sketches that would later become the basis of Limbo. He needed help making the game since one man can only do so much. So he released a concept art trailer in 2006 in the hopes that people will come onto the project or be interested in it. And it depicted a very early build of Limbo. This got the interest of the internet and a lot of people who wanted to help out with the project. But one notable person is Dino Patti. I might be saying it wrong. It might be Dino or Dino. Sorry. Anyways, he hopped into the game being a programmer for it. And with some government grants and investors, they founded Playdead. So they began working on Limbo and they need more people to help with the project since games are hard to make. So during the development, the employees grew from 2 to a whopping 8. And sometimes it'll go to 16 with the help of freelancers. They worked on this game up until release, obviously. During development though, they faced challenges. The majority, however, were from the investors behind it. You see, Arndt and Dino were really unsatisfied with their jobs before working on Limbo. Remember how I mentioned that Arndt will be drawing sketches? He drew the majority of them during his time with IO Interactive. He drew sketches that looked a lot like Limbo's forest, as a means to escape from his really fucking stressful job. So they wanted this game to not be corporate at all. However, the investors wanted to make it corporate, and so therefore the investors were suggesting these ideas that they didn't like but was very corporate. For example, they wanted multiplayer, they wanted difficulty options, and later on one of the investors suggested the idea of adding a mustache onto the boy because seeing a boy die over and over again in some really gruesome ways was not a good marketing campaign. They ignored him though. But when they made a deal with Microsoft, they too were concerned about the boy dying gruesomely. But the thing is that they couldn't really change it. The whole idea of having a little boy dying really gruesomely was to try to motivate the player to not die gruesomely, They didn't want the player to keep fucking up, so they tried to make them feel bad for fucking up. The game was created closely to Arndt's vision. He didn't want to be influenced by so many outside people. He wanted the game to be his vision, his story, his idea. And he was really picky about it. A little before launch, 70% of the content inside Limbo was trashed because they didn't like how it fit into the story or into the game. On release, it was sold at retail price instead of free because they wanted to pay back the investors. They wanted to do it free, but they didn't want the investors on their back. And when it came out, it was a really big fucking success. It came out first on the Xbox Arcade Life, being one of the primary games on the summer sale. However, later on it was ported onto the PS3, Steam, Linux, Mac, PS Vita, Androids, iPhones. They were everywhere. They were also able to pay back the investors their money that they put into the game, and now Playdead was officially independent. Oh shit, I didn't add in my script, but it's important to note this game came out in 2010. The reason why I think it's important to note the date that the game came out was because months later, after Limbo was out and was doing really good, they decided to work on the spiritual successor. For people who don't know what that really means, it's like a sequel, but it's not a sequel. It's not a continuation of the game, yet it's a continuation of an idea, like Mega Man and Mighty Number 9, or Shadow of the Colossus and Eco. So they started working on Inside. I wish I could snap, but they started working on Inside ASAP. You know, they wanted to. They learned from the mistakes. Limbo was like a test drive. Now it's like their full-fledged, like, this is the game that they wanted to make. And the development, although you might think that it might be more crazy because the shit that they're adding onto it, was actually more relaxed. They gave up on Limbo's engine and stuck with Unity. Why? It's because Unity was more easier to develop for. While Limbo, as cool as it was and as intuitive as the engine was for the game, it was a pain in the ass for them to work with. So they wanted to push it aside and to work with Unity, so that they could find easier and something they could work on easier. And overall, it was a big improvement on Limbo. It was more colorful, it was better controlled, and it looked way better. Thanks to it not being exactly 2D like Limbo, instead being 2.5D. So it's still 2D, but now it has 3D models and 3D rendering. The main producers were Argentin and Daniel Patti, but it also got some funding from the Danish Film Institute. The game was unveiled at E3 2014 at Xbox Showcase. It said that it was released on 2015 and later released on 2016. But then it came out on Xbox first, then PS4, then iOS, then Switch. And the game too was a really big success. And yeah, that's pretty much where the story ends. Well, for now at least. Again, they are working on a third game. However, they have stated that they're tired of 2D games. They don't want to be restricted to only a 2D platform. And yeah, I'll claim that Playdead is probably one of the best indie developers out there. They have countless of awards. They showed off that you don't need 80 people to make a really great game. Instead, you just need like a few couple of people who are really dedicated to their craft and who really have a story to tell. And they also paved the way for these new games to come out, like Little Nightmares and Unravel, things like that, where it's not a AAA game 3D do everything fucking cyberpunk shit, you know? They allowed more indie developers to come out and create their own twisted vision and make it into a game. And you know what? I can't wait to see their next game. Thanks for watching this, I think, short video. I'm planning on writing one for either Media Molecule or for Crow for the next video. So subscribe in case you want to see that. Again, thanks for watching the video. Leave a thumbs up if you enjoyed. Leave a comment if you have like any studios you would like me to like cover. And yeah, I'll see you all next time. Lates.